If you're going into this game looking for a deep, thought-provoking narrative filled with complex character arcs and moral ambiguity, you're in the wrong place. I mean, it's a 50-cent game. The plot kicks off with 50 and his crew finishing up a concert in some war-torn Middle Eastern country. You know, the perfect place to have a concert. Anyways, after the show, the group heads backstage to collect their guaranteed $10 million payment from a shady promoter named Anwar. Unsurprisingly, Anwar doesn't have the $10 million in cash, so he offers a bizarre alternative. He hands over a priceless, diamond and pearl encrusted human skull as collateral. 50 accepts this weird-looking artifact, but almost immediately, they're ambushed by some paramilitary group led by a ruthless dude named Saeed Kamal and his second-in-command, a woman named Layla. They steal the skull, making 50 say arguably the best dialogue in gaming history.
That bitch took my skull!
And this pretty much sets the whole vibe of the game in motion.
What time is it, bitch?
From this point forward, the game essentially abandons any pretense of narrative logic. The entire plot is simply an excuse to move you from one shooting arena to the other. 50 and his partner basically wage war against thousands of heavily armed mercenaries tearing through cities, slums, and ancient palaces with one singular unwavering goal: getting that damn skull back. The narrative dissonance is honestly staggering. They casually shoot their way through a sovereign nation over a stolen piece of jewelry, all while casually discussing their success in the music industry. Throughout the campaign, characters constantly cross and double-cross each other. Allies become enemies, and informants lead the crew into deadly traps. However, this theme of betrayal never quite sticks to 50 himself, who remains an unstoppable, unbothered force of nature, way too busy firing rocket-propelled grenades at bad guys to reflect on the geopolitical implications of his actions. And honestly, the narrative succeeds precisely because it refuses to take itself seriously.
Yo, 50, them shutters are moving!
Let's move on to the visuals and the overall art style. It's actually a perfect encapsulation of the late 2000s aesthetic. It was actually built on Unreal Engine 3, and man, does it ever look like it. It's remarkably similar to other heavy hitters of its time, most notably Gears of War. The characters are heavily stylized with muscular physiques in tactical gear and, most importantly, shiny jewelry. 50 himself is rendered with a surprising amount of detail, capturing his likeness accurately, though he moves with that stiff animation that's so characteristic of Unreal Engine. Yes, the art direction suffers from that notorious brown filter, or to put it elegantly, piss filter, that plagued so many games back then. But honestly, it's kind of refreshing since everything's so saturated now. The Middle Eastern setting has the usual war-torn environments with concrete blocks, desert walls, dusty pillars, and corrugated iron sheets. While these environments serve their mechanical purpose as cover points perfectly, they are largely colorless and sometimes feel repetitive. You're gonna spend hours looking at variations of brown dirt, gray concrete, and dusty yellow skies. The game does try to break up this visual monotony by introducing a few unique interiors, but the overarching color palette remains muted. And you also gotta put up with some technical hiccups that were typical of early Unreal Engine 3 titles, most notably severe texture pop-in. You'll enter a new area, and the high-res textures will take a few seconds to load over blurry, low-res placeholders, which is a bit jarring.
There's some money right here.
Nice, some compensation.
What I really love, though, is how the visual design incorporates some incredibly gamey and arcadey elements that clash with its gritty, realistic environments. The UI here is also super busy, constantly flashing points, combo multipliers, and objective timers right in your face. The game also literally color codes its ammunition pickups to match the clothing of the enemies. For example, an enemy wearing a bright blue shirt will always drop a bright blue box containing shotgun shells. Additionally, the developers went out of their way to hide wooden crates full of gold bars and jewelry behind suspicious-looking brick walls. It's ridiculous, and I kinda love it. Now let's get into the real stuff, the gameplay. This is where I was a bit surprised, in a good way. While you'd expect a licensed celebrity game to feature lazy, uninspired mechanics, Swordfish Studios actually delivered a highly enjoyable third-person cover shooter. The core combat loop is inspired by Gears of War. The controls are fast, responsive, allowing for seamless movement between cover. But here's where it gets really interesting. Instead of methodical, slow-paced tactical shooting, Blood on Sand actively encourages an aggressive playstyle. And this aggression is driven by its brilliant incorporation of an arcade scoring system. Every single action you take in the game is tied to a point value, and this basically creates an addictive rhythm to the combat. You're heavily incentivized to chain kills together, pushing forward out of cover to keep the combo alive rather than hanging back defensively and playing it safe. And it further adds multiple mechanics on top of this combo system to let you maximize your scoring potential. Like, you have counter kills. These are close-range melee executions triggered by a quick time event when you get close to an enemy. Then you have the taunts. This makes 50 hurl some insane profanity at enemies. If you do this right after a kill, it significantly bolsters your overall score. You also get bonus points for skill kills like getting headshots, explosive multi-kills, or setting enemies on fire. And finally, several times during each chapter, the game throws challenges at you. These are randomly occurring challenges like kill 3 machine gunners in 20 seconds, and completing these awards you with cash and bonuses. Speaking of cash, to upgrade your weapons and abilities, you collect the money scattered throughout the levels or earned via scores. This is then spent at the shop, which are fully functional payphone booths conveniently located right in the middle of active war zones. You can purchase new guns, upgrade your existing firearms, or buy higher tier counter kills and taunts. The weapon selection is standard but satisfying, like revolvers and pistols, shotguns and SMGs, assault rifles and machine guns, and also rocket launchers.
Won't these fools ever learn? Lay down, lay down, lay down! Take the stairs. Get the higher ground on these builds.
Of course, the gameplay is not without its flaws. Movement is incredibly limited outside of combat, like you can't run, jump, climb, or drop down from small ledges. And the enemy AI is largely brain dead. These guys function more as walking targets for your combo system than actual tactical threats. But despite these limitations, the dopamine rush of chasing high scores, executing brutal counter kills, and shouting profanities makes the core combat loop undeniably engaging. A huge part of why this game is remembered so fondly is the co-op experience. It was built from the ground up to be experienced with a friend, which sadly I don't have. If you play solo, the AI takes control of one of 50's G-Unit associates. Next up are the vehicles and the boss fights, because this is where the game stumbles hard. The vehicles were actually forced into the game at the direct request of 50 Cent, and it painfully shows. These sections act as brief interludes between the shooting arenas, but they completely fail to capture the same frantic energy. The driving mechanics are remarkably basic. The physics are floaty, and the driving requires absolutely no skill whatsoever. You simply hold the accelerator and steer through wide linear highways while shooting generic-looking vehicles. The boss fights suffer from a similar lack of creativity. Instead of having unique enemy commanders, or heavily armored elite units, or even multi-stage combat encounters, the game instead relies entirely on one specific type of boss, the attack helicopter. And these so-called boss fights play out identically every single time. You dodge machine gun fire and missiles, wait for a specific opening, and fire back with rockets or explosive rounds until its health bar is depleted. By the third or fourth time this exact scenario plays out, the repetition becomes glaringly obvious. The helicopter battles feel less like epic climaxes and more like tedious speed bumps padding out the runtime.
50, Trident have men on the ground moving in on command's position now.
What the Anwar? You know these hit our convoy on the way here.
No, I mean, no. Why would...
It's funny how you seem so friendly with him. This some up shit.
So, how long's the game? For modern gamers accustomed to massive 60-hour RPGs, the length of Blood on Sand might seem shockingly brief, but it actually perfectly fits the game's arcade-style pacing. A standard playthrough of the main campaign will take you roughly 6 to 8 hours to complete. However, the game is designed for replayability, much like any arcade. Reaching 100% completion, which involves finding all hidden posters, shooting all bullseye targets, completing all mid-level scenarios, and earning the highest possible score on every single level, can push your playtime closer to 15 hours, which is pretty decent. Now you might be wondering, is there a new Game Plus mode? Well, not in the traditional sense. Instead, it handles replayability through an unlockables and cheat system that basically serves the exact same purpose. As you complete the campaign and accumulate medals and badges based on your score, you unlock access to powerful cheats in the menu. Like, with 52 medals, you can activate an infinite ammo cheat. Pushing further to 56 medals unlocks infinite grenades. These cheats completely break the game's economy and difficulty curve in the absolute best way possible. It allows you to run through older levels, unleashing pure devastation.
The best you got, come on! Incoming! How you like this? Keep putting in work, 50!
So, how does this game actually perform today? What are the requirements, and how accessible is it if you want to play it right now? Surprisingly, accessing it today is relatively straightforward. The best way to experience the game is on the Xbox Series X or S. Back in late 2021, Microsoft actually added it to its backward compatibility program. Now sadly, it didn't receive an FPS boost, meaning the frame rate remains locked at its original 30 frames per second. However, it does benefit from an automatic resolution multiplier. Running on the Series X, those muddy 720p textures are rendered in 4K, significantly cleaning up the image quality. And for PC players, bad news, cause the game was never officially ported to Windows, meaning emulation is your only path forward. Your two primary options are RPCS3, which is the PS3 emulator, and Xenia Canary, the 360 emulator. But I haven't tried any of these, so can't really say much about it. By boldly lifting the cover mechanics of Gears of War and blending them with a combo-chasing multiplier system of the club, they've created a gameplay loop that is undeniably addictive. Is it a masterpiece of high art? Absolutely not. It's definitely let down by those repetitive boss fights, a brown color palette, and lazy driving segments that require zero skill. But you know what? It never pretends to be anything more than exactly what it is. Blood on Sand actually stands as a shining reminder of a time when developers could just make something big, dumb, and unapologetically fun. For those curious about gaming history, or if you're just looking for a fantastic weekend co-op with a buddy, it absolutely holds up today.